Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Italy, a place to love YouTube channel. Now, first of all, thank you all for watching my videos, to put like and subscribe. And now let's start with today's video. Today I want to focus about the cost of living here in Italy, the affordability of the life. And so I found a very interesting post on this group called Expats Living in Italy, and so I want to read with you the post and then let's see the comments below the post. Anyway, it's about the cost of living, and so how much technically I need to live if I decide to move to Italy. Obviously there are different situations, I mean they are not all the same, but I like to analyze this one in particular. So let's start reading the post. Hello everyone. So this one it's saying already that is not an EU citizen. So I'm willing to move to Italy, Turin in particular. So he's moving to Torino with my wife. The wife is not working, so only him is working. My future company is offering me 28,000 euros annual salary gross. I think it's gross. 28,000 euro gross, yes, sorry. Annual salary, 28k, to make it easier. So with 13th and 14th salary included. Now in Italy, this for example we didn't have in Ireland, but in Italy they pay for sure 13 salaries in 1 year. So we have 12 months, but we get 13 salaries, and some companies are even offering the 14th salary, which is extremely good. Generally, the 13th salary is given during Christmas time to let people spend money during Christmas times, and the 14th is given generally in July, August, to let the people afford to go on holiday. So I made a quick calculation and I turned it out. I will get around 1,450 euros net per month. Let's say 1,500 euros net per month. Is this a good salary to live for a couple? Now that's his question. So he's not familiar with Italy, so he's asking if 1,500 euro a month is enough to live for a couple which the wife is not working, so only one person. Shall I pass insurance for my wife, or it will be included in my salary? I don't really know much about insurance. What in case of having kids? Is there will be tax exemption? So, for example, I don't know as well much about kids, but anyway, in the comments below, they are describing the situation. I believe 1,500 euros, it's not a lot, but I do not know the average life expense in Torino, kindly, and so on. Okay, so the post is quite clear, I don't need to recap, but quick recap, 1,500 euro a month, only him working, and he wants to understand if he can afford to live in Torino. Now, Torino, we are talking about one of the biggest cities in Italy. It's in the northwest of Italy, in Piemonte region, the city where I actually was born, so, and where I spent nearly 30 years of my life. Now, an Italian replied to his comment and says, "You will count every penny at the end of the month. Rent, utilities, public transport, food, plus eventually a kid. So it's really tough. That means you can't afford any extra expenses." So I agree with this comment, because I says with this situation 1,500 euro a month, then obviously there are different things that might make the difference, but let's keep reading and then we'll investigate more. Thank you, and who posts is replying and say thank you, that's what I was thinking. it's a high risk to afford a comfortable life with this salary. Yes, I say you might not have, I mean, as this comment say and was written by an Italian, you will count every penny at the end of the month. And I actually agree. So 1500 euro a month for two people, let's say with rent to pay and utilities and then food and extras and then having a child could be complicated. Now someone else says it's not a lot, but maybe your wife can find any job here too. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think there are chances, for example, for his wife to get a job, a part-time job, just to give an extra. For example, I will enter later in the rents, about the rent prices in Torino, and because there are comments talking about the rents. So, for example, if the wife is able to find a job, not even really high paid, but enough, for example, her salary to pay the rent, then the things already start changing a bit. Someone else says, it depends on what part of Italy you want to live. For instance, it is enough in Syracuse. Syracuse is in Sicily. Now, who wrote the post clearly said that he's gonna move to Torino. The job had been offered in Turin, so I don't know why she's mentioning Sicily. And yes, I'd say that technically the same amount of money in a southern Italian city could be a tiny bit better, but I'm just saying a tiny bit better because the rental prices, we are talking about cities, could be the same as in Torino, only the bills, the utilities are the same, because are the same for all the country. What you might save a bit maybe is on the food, let's say that you might have cheaper food. That's all I see where you can spend a bit less in the south of Italy. Now, it's fine, someone else saying, it's fine in that area as long as your wife finds a job too. Otherwise, it's going to be a bit difficult. Yes, anyway, we do agree, I agree with this. I already said that if the wife is going to find a job, technically they can make it, and they can even save some money if they are not spending a lot. Then consider that they might need to have a car, and then a car is an extra expense. So it depends, you know, if it's a remote job. Now it's not explaining if the job is from home. Technically, if you are a remote worker and you live in a city, you might not need necessarily to have a car, so you can avoid, for example, the expenses of a car. Now, someone else says, generally Italians, most of the people who are answering to this question, to this post, are Italian. Now, if you need to pay rent, at the very least is 500 euro per month, plus utilities 200 euro per month. That's what you have to consider. In Italy, utilities are around 200 euro per month. You really have to be aware and control of all your expenses. And if you need to pay rent at the very least 500 euro, now I'd say it might be hard to find a rent in Torino cheaper than 500 euro. Let's say that in some areas maybe you can find 350, 400 euro per month, which is possible. But you're gonna rent just one bedroom apartment, very small, tiny apartment, 40 meter squares. So then it depends if you are able to go for this type of small apartment. I mean, why not? But I say that the average rent in Torino for a two-bedroom apartment goes from 600 to 800 euro a month for a two-bedroom apartment. So someone else says, It is not enough for a couple to live comfortably. This is not Italian, and I totally agree. Anyway, you make it very, very tight. Now, what someone else says is that's actually more than a typical Italian salary is. That's actually more than a typical Italian salary is. True, because Italian salaries are, the average can be 12, 13, 1400 euro a month. Despite what everyone is saying, Italian paychecks are very low. A teacher makes about 1200 euro a month. Now, yes, I'd say between 12 and 1400 euro a month for a teacher. I'm very disappointed with teacher salaries. I think are the lowest in all Europe. I mean, teachers, to teach well, I think they have to be rewarded also with a good paycheck, with good money. The more they earn, teachers, for me, the more they are motivated to also teach quality to the students. If a teacher is getting this small amount of money, I think they just go there, warm up the chair, and teaching just the basics, the programs that is required to teach, nothing extra then. Just to give you an idea. But I also have to say that Italians all work, I think refers to husband, wife, for a couple, they usually both work. So we always have dual income. Yes, so basically the Italian families nowadays, I think everywhere, in Germany, in UK, in Ireland, I'd say most of the families anyway, husband and wives, the couple are working, so both of them, which brings more money at home. Being I mean, as a housewife is not very common, so one income might not be enough for two people. Anyway, it's true, unless, for example, you are in my situation, where I'm not actually working, my wife is working, I'm the house husband, my wife's salary is around 1,000 euro, but I don't have mortgage to pay or rent to pay, and so this makes it completely different, because what is taking a lot of money from your salary generally is the mortgage or the rent. So it depends. If you are in the situation where let's say you are the owner of the house, that's different, but obviously for someone who is moving to Italy, we can take it for granted that this person doesn't own a property in Italy. And then it's also saying, also there is no insurance, I mean health insurance, if that's what you're asking. So they might be, now I'm not familiar with this, with private insurances in Italy. If you are a foreigner, drop a line in the comments if you know about this topic, for me to learn. Anyway, it's something that I need to investigate. So someone else says not enough for two. Then someone else says sounds pretty tight for a couple. Now you can play around with this website to get an idea of the cost in Torino. Now I never heard about this website, so it's a website called Numbeo, numbeo.com, cost of living. So basically you can check the cost of living all around the world, and you type the city and they might tell you what is the average cost of living. It actually is an interesting website. I have to find myself for the places where I might relocate in case I need, because never knows, you know, we might always be with the foot somewhere else. Let's see, then only one person working and a child is not enough in Turin. Now, if there is a child, absolutely 1,500 euro a month with utilities, rent to pay, wife not working, I'd say you make it very, very hard. Even if there are some benefits for children, but not big benefits anyway. Very tight, not a good life. Now, Where did you calculate your net income? I used 2 online calculators and got circa 1700 euro net for 14 months. You need to coniuge a carico, so when the husband or the wife is not working, one coniuge a carico is a typical expression in Italy when one of the two in the couple is not working, and you can say that the other person rely on your salary, and so then you might have little extras. If you have a child, you can claim the assegno unico, that's what we call it. It's like unique check, let's say for each child, another 100 euro or so a month. I think it's a bit more than 100 euro per child, if I'm not wrong. Anyway, there is an app, Calcolo Stipendio Netto, so how to calculate the net salary in Italy. Now, someone else says, goes a bit against the other one and says, that's not a bad salary net. For Italy, anyway. It will be enough to live, probably nothing left over. You need a really low ISEE, I-S-E-E, which is the Italian way to calculate your incomes and to have benefits. To be entitled for benefits, you need to have a low ISEE, that's what we call it, I-S-E-E, I-Z, I'd say is in English, but ISEE is in Italian. To get taxation exempt, of course, if you have a low ISEE, you can be tax exempt and help with kids. I think below 12,000 euro gross a year, but you might get something. We get 90 euros a month for 3 kids. So they're not getting much. And now I don't understand if they're getting 90 euro per each kid, or for 3 kids they're getting 90 euros. Now, if for 3 kids they're getting only 90 euros a month, it's nothing. If they're getting 90 euro per each kid, I'd say is already a tiny help that might make a bit the difference, let's say. But children, anyway, let's talk about my point of view is that a child in Italy might cost around 1,000 euro a month just to have a child. Maybe I'm a bit exaggerating, but between 500 and 800 euro a month for sure, including food, including activities, including clothes. So I'd say that if someone has a child, the cost for a child in Italy is in between 500 and 800 euro a month. Then if you want to give extras, consider even up to 1,000 euro. Under 1,000 euro, let's say under 600 euro a month, your child would have for sure limited a low quality of life. And this is what it happens in many families in Italy anyway, that parents cannot afford to provide the best service, the best activities for their children. Now, depends on what lifestyle you are used to. Honestly, I found Torino so cheap. Your salary is average, and I would say, but most Italians don't have to pay the rent. That's the thing. For example, Italians can afford to live with this salary, because if they don't have rent to pay, now this is another big topic that should have been discussed maybe in just one video in particular. The way the Italian families are structured, the way Italian families build up the wealth, and how they are kind of investing a lot in properties. Each time, let's say that the average family in Italy owns 2 properties. If we make an average, then obviously you might have a very small amount, less than 15% who don't own a house, maybe 20, but I'd say it's very low the amount of Italians who are not the owner of a house. Then you might have a big slice which are the owner of one house, but then you have already also a big part of Italians who have 2 or more properties. I mean, it's very, very common for the Italian people to buy properties. Then, let's keep reading. But most Italians don't have to pay rent. Obviously, some do, but in general, there are a lot of homes in families. That's what I'm actually saying. That, for example, my parents might be the owner of 3 properties, and or I could be the owner of 2 properties, and then I already sort kind of my children. So generally Italians are investing a lot in properties, and when they can buy a house, they buy it. Even just to keep it empty, not even to rent. A lot of families, I know, they have empty properties just to keep it as a second home, and so on. It's an interesting video, should be prepared properly, because to explain all the dynamics of the Italian families. Now maybe this was even more used to 15, 20, 30 years ago. Maybe now Italian families are getting a bit, I mean, for sure they're getting poorer comparing to 30 years ago or 20 years ago, but still I believe that most of the Italians own at least 2 properties. Now, if it's a good professional move and you want to live here, you can make it work for sure. Yeah, if also, for example, there is the chance to improve your career, and so to get better money. But again, you should focus, for me, on his wife to find a job. Then, that's a terrible salary, even for Italian standards. There is no way you could live off that if you have to pay rent, mortgage and car. Totally agree. I'd say Italian average earn that money. The thing is that they're both working, and so if one of in the couple, one is earning 1,500, the other one is earning 1,200, they make it. They make it a kind of decent life. Then if they have children, they spend obviously what they earn also to for the children expenses. So someone else says, no, your housing should not be more than 1/3 of your income, and I doubt you will find any place to live under 500 euro. Again, I know about properties in Torino. Now, let me say one thing about Torino. If I move to Torino, which it might be possible, simply because I have my family there, my parents are living there, my sister is living there, I might decide that, for example, if things are not going well for me here in Montemilone, I might say, okay, I go to Torino, I might rent a place, I might buy, but let's say I decide to rent, I would choose the suburban area of Torino. Now, the quality of the life in the suburban area in Torino is better of the quality of the life. So let's divide Torino in 3 circles. The one is the city center, which could be posh. Then you have a second circle, which is, for me, for poor families. And then we have a third circle, which is for the average people, average families who decide to live in the suburban towns around Torino, where the quality of the life is better. I was born in one of these towns, which is called Venaria Reale, not actually in Torino. It's very close. I mean, if you are driving, you don't see any difference when Torino ends and starts Venaria. Is all connected very well by buses, transportation, but the quality of the life is much higher. Then I think that, I mean, not I think, but the more you move out from the Torino outskirts, the better the quality of the life. And also, I'd say in the second ring, which I mentioned before, that's where you might find the cheaper rents. In the city center, high. Then you have the second ring, very low or low, and then you have the third ring, which is higher than the second. Now, someone else says, you'll be living, one-third of your income, and I doubt you will find any place to live under 500 euro. You would be living at a poverty level. Now, someone else say, not if paying rent, you need at least 2,000 euro a month. I totally agree, at least, if there is a rent to pay. Okay, I'm skipping now a few comments because they're all repeating. No, not enough at all. 2,000 euro minimum if you need to pay the rent, not enough. Kindly advise, the average living expenses in Milan exclude rent, utilities, school fee for 2 adults and 1 kid. Anyway, I don't understand really, because it's not talking about money. Maybe it says that in Milan, anyway, it won't be enough. Now, all these people saying it's not enough, plenty of Italian, north and south, live on wages of that amount. It's not easier, and Italy, like everywhere else, has become more expensive. It won't be easier, especially finding affordable rent, but not impossible. If you have realistic expectations and look diligently, you can make it work if you have to. Now someone reply to this comment and say, what's the point of relocating if it doesn't boost your life and income expectancy? This is what I agree 100%, and I'm trying to recommend to everyone. So what's the point to relocate to one place if this relocation is not giving you a boost of a decent life, of your life and income expectancy? I will never move to one place, let's say, where I'm not gonna gain anything. To live at the same condition here in Italy, and then I move to UK, and I base this on the savings. If here I'm able to save 100 euro a month, and I go to UK, even if my salary is higher, but I'm still able to save 100 euro a month, I always recommend to not do that step, unless you are young. Let's say someone is in early 20s who just want to have an experience. From that point of view, I would say yes. Now, let's see, of course Italians survive with 1,200 euro a month, since that's the average entry level salary. However, usually in a couple both work, the flat often belongs to them, so they don't have to pay rent, and when they are in need they have parents and relatives who help, absolutely, financially or with manpower, babysitting, helping at home, even cooking or renovating, repairing. Now, Italian families always help the children, doesn't matter their age. Even me, that I'm 47, sometimes I might have a gift from my mom, or saying, oh Antonio, please do this, do that, take this money, oh, I'm gonna pay you the insurance this year. Things like these are very common in Italy. Parents are always ready to help their children. Also because with the ladder system, my parents' generation, let's say, had higher chances than my generation to buy more houses. I will make a video about this anyway, about how by the generations things have changed in Italy, and the power purchase put, for example, young generation in a very extremely difficult situation. Anyway, my friends, I'm just closing the video by saying that at the end, who wrote the post said he refused this job opportunity. I mean, maybe he considered many things out of this post, but following this post, he didn't see much in favor of his relocation. Alright, my friends, so I hope you have enjoyed this video here on Italy, a Place to Love, where we talk about everything about Italy. And so, if you like this type of videos, please put like and subscribe, and I'll see you here on Italy, a Place to Love YouTube channel. Bye for now. Bye!